Hey guys, so with Joe Biden having basically won the presidential election, today I want to take a look at the 2020 Senate elections between the Democrats and the Republicans, in which no party has won these elections yet. So before we get into that, make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. The link is at the very top of the description below. So moving on to the 2020 Senate map. Right now, it's 50-48 with two runoff elections in Georgia. The Georgia election between David Perdue and Jon Ossoff, and the Georgia special election between Kelly Loeffler and Raphael Warnock, with Doug Collins having dropped out of the race. So taking a look at the New York Times map, it's a little bit different. They have not called North Carolina nor the state of Alaska, but at this point, these states are going to go to the GOP. Tom Tillis did much better than expected in the state of North Carolina. He did better than Donald Trump here, and Joe Biden did better than Cal Cunningham, which is pretty disappointing. Cal Cunningham led by 10 points. I was almost sure that Cal Cunningham would do better than Joe Biden in the state of North Carolina, but after that texting scandal involving Cunningham and him divorcing his wife, or his wife divorcing him, that was not a good look for him, and he's probably going to lose this race, and that's probably going to be a major reason as to why. Because Cunningham, although he wasn't the best candidate, he was doing very, very well here in North Carolina. I do expect his numbers to go up, though. He is expected to, gain more votes in Wake County, which is where Raleigh is, Fayetteville, from Cumberland County, as well as Mecklenburg County, where Charlotte is located. So I do expect more votes for Cunningham, as the days, in the next couple of days, November 12th, that's where they're going to report their next results. But still, it's not a good look right now for the Democratic Party there in North Carolina. The state of Alaska, Dan Sullivan is expected to beat Al Gross. Really no chance for Gross to come back at this point. There's still half the results left, and it hasn't been, they're not going to count ballots for quite a while in Alaska. It's going to take a very long time. But the Republicans are going to sweep this state, so don't expect a Democratic flip there for Al Gross. But the two Georgia special Senate elections, these elections are very, very interesting. And what makes this even more contentious is the fact that Joe Biden has won the state of Georgia. We take a look at the presidential level. Although it hasn't been called for the former vice president, the state of Georgia right now is just so solid for him. He leads by 10,000 votes, which would be a historic victory for Joe Biden. Even Barack Obama was not able to flip the state of Georgia in any of his elections in 2008 nor 2012. Joe Biden currently leads by a margin of 0.3% almost, or 0.2%. So that's larger than it was before. Joe Biden's lead is increasing as more votes are getting counted, and those, overseas military ballots are favoring Joe Biden by quite a bit. So do not expect Donald Trump to catch up here. There's going to be an automatic recount. However, it's not going to help Donald Trump too much. He needs, a 10,000 vote boost, which from recounts that has never happened before, and is not going to happen. Joe Biden has won this election, and in the Senate, the Democrats can still win, although I think the Republicans do have a higher chance of doing so. As you can see, 78-25 between the GOP and the Democrats, with David Perdue expected to win his Senate race against Jon Ossoff in January, and then Kelly Loeffler expected to win in the Georgia special Senate election. So basically, since neither of the candidates reached 50% in Georgia, that means that there will be a special election in January to decide just between the top two candidates. So in Georgia, David Perdue and Jon Ossoff. Perdue's numbers were above 50 for quite a while until they went under 50, which is why he will have to take he'll have to take on Jon Ossoff once again, which I think is a benefit for the Democratic Party. I think that with Joe Biden flipping the state of Georgia, we're going to see, higher than expected turnout for the Democrats. They typically do have lower turnout in special elections, which is understandable because Republicans do vote a lot more frequently than Democrats. That's why Democrats need that turnout, and Republicans, they want less turnout. So the state of Georgia right now, we'll see if Joe Biden's victory there can boost Democrats to vote a lot more in Georgia, but the race is, it's not going to flip for Jon Ossoff at this point in time. David Perdue is going to win more votes in this first election, but in the Senate election, it'll just between those two, with, any third-party candidates will not be on the ballot. For the Georgia special Senate election between Loeffler and Warnock, basically it was a three-way race. We have Warnock, Loeffler, with Republican Doug Collins. So Loeffler, she took office just this year, I believe in January, if I'm getting that right, but she took office this year, and that's why, she has one election, which is why there is another Republican who is challenging her. That typically would not happen, as we saw with the normal Georgia election. But Raphael Warnock, he did all right, definitely worse than expected, but still he was able to win the most votes by by over 300,000. So it was good for him, but definitely I don't think it's good enough. I think that Loeffler has a very very good chance at winning this election at this point because Doug Collins, he is a Republican, so most of his votes are going to go to Loeffler. But we'll see how the votes break down. We'll take a look at the numbers out of Georgia in the next couple of weeks because this is going to decide the makeup of the Senate. It's going to decide whether Joe Biden can get things done, whether he can get whatever he wants done, or whether he will have to um, you know he will have to, get more Republicans to support him in terms of what he wants to get passed in the Senate. So that's going to be a major part of this. And Georgia, as you can see, Trump lost these two states, but David Perdue was able to win the Georgia Senate election, so that's a good sign for him. Meaning that a lot of Trump voters who did not vote for Trump this time around did vote for David Perdue, and a lot of Republicans voted for Perdue, but voted for Joe Biden as well on the top of the ballot. So we have a lot of down ballot voters voting for the Republican Party, but on the presidential level, they voted for Joe Biden in the state of Georgia, which is pretty clear based on the numbers here. So that is a benefit for the Republicans. The Republicans definitely did have a very good night on Tuesday. The Democrats definitely did much, much worse than expected. I mean, they were able to win Colorado and Arizona, but Michigan, Gary Peters, what a disappointing performance. Just 1.5%. That is absolutely disappointing. In the state of Minnesota, Tina Smith also did much worse than Joe Biden. The state of Virginia, Mark Warner was able to win by 11%. So he did all right there in the state of Virginia. The state of Illinois, Dick Durbin, he did all right. 13%, definitely not a solid margin, and quite a bit worse than Joe Biden. The state of Oregon, that was, pretty strong victory for Jeff Merkley. But Maine, that was a disappointment for the Democratic Party. Sarah Gideon was leading every single poll by up to 10 points in the state of Maine going into this election. However, right now, Susan Collins, with 88% of the votes in, she's going to win a race. There's no doubt about that. She definitely, she is a fifth-term incumbent now, I believe, after January. So Susan Collins definitely was able to defy all the odds that were against her. She is literally the most unpopular senator in the entire United States Senate. She is more unpopular than not Susan Collins, but than Mitch McConnell in the Senate, which is a pretty big deal. So definitely not the election that she had 6 years ago, where she won by over 36%. So in the state of Maine right now, it's much closer than last time. Sarah Gideon definitely did much better, but still much, much worse than expected. So Susan Collins was able to win an unexpected race there in the state of Maine. Iowa as well, Joni Ernst's margin was much lower than expected. This was a little bit closer to the polling data. However, Theresa Greenfield, the numbers did have Theresa Greenfield winning the state of Iowa. However, she barely picked up any counties. Really, only counties, Polk County where Des Moines is, Cedar Rapids, and Scott County. That's really all she picked up. Very, very disappointing for Greenfield in the state of Iowa. Joni Ernst definitely, did better than what people expected. The state of Kansas, Roger Marshall, it was on a solid margin. Barbara Bollier, she did all right. Not the best performance for her, but still, this wasn't too far off of what we expected from the state of Kansas. Another interesting race, state of Texas, John Cornyn actually didn't do too great. He only won by 10,000 or by 10%, which it was all right. It was what we expected. So not a boost for the Republicans as we expect. But Donald Trump did much better than expected in the state of Texas against Joe Biden. He won by less than 6%, which is still, worse than 2016, but still better than we had expected. The state of South Carolina, Lindsey Graham able to hold on to his seat, winning his seat by double digits against Jamie Harrison. If you remember, Jamie Harrison pulled in the most money of any Senate candidate in history from South Carolina, which is a pretty big feat because South Carolina isn't, too large. So that was a big deal for Jamie Harrison. They spent so much money in South Carolina, just hoping that they will be able to beat a very unpopular Lindsey Graham, but Lindsey Graham was able to, in the end, pull off the victory. I think that him supporting Trump so much did help him, as Trump was able to, carry South Carolina by a pretty solid margin. So that was definitely another disappointment for the Democrats. In the state of Kentucky, Mitch McConnell did much better than expected. Amy McGrath, she did terrible. That's honestly all I can say. She was expected to do all right, but definitely not the numbers that she was hoping for. In the state of Kentucky, Alabama, Tommy Tuberville wins his seat by over 20% against Doug Jones, who, unfortunately, that's what you get for winning a special election against, I believe, a sex offender or something like that. I actually don't remember, but he won against a very, very unpopular Republican and in, a deep southern state. So he's, he was bound to lose his next election. So Doug Jones losing, his seat in Alabama that he's had for the past 2 years. Tommy Tuberville having a pretty strong victory here. So Alabama is nowhere near, a flip for the Democrats. And then Montana, Steve Daines did better than expected as well, winning by 11% over Steve Bullock. This race was a race that was pretty, doing pretty badly for the Republicans. They were down by quite a bit in the summer, so Steve Daines being able to come back and pull off victory in the state of Montana. The state of Colorado, again, John Hickenlooper doing worse than Joe Biden. Arizona, Mark Kelly did do better incrementally by around 3%. He won by 3% here. Did basically around 3% better than Joe Biden. So the state of Arizona, definitely, Mark Kelly was a better candidate here than Joe Biden. As you can see in Maricopa County, Kelly wins this race by 4%, which is a pretty big deal. And then now with Kyrsten Sinema having been elected in 2018 against Martha McSally. So Martha McSally has lost, both her elections in Arizona in just 2 years. So very unfortunate for her. But now we will have two senators that are Democrats from the state of Arizona. And then we have these two races in Georgia, which are going to decide the balance of power in the United States Senate. Really no other meaningful races. Massachusetts, Ed Markey was expected to lose against Joe Kennedy III in the Democratic primary here for the Senate in Massachusetts for quite a while. However, he was able to win that, and he basically won the Senate election at that point. He wins by 32%. Rhode Island, very strong for Jack Reed. New Hampshire, Jean Shaheen did, very well, 15% like we had expected. Corky Messner, not a strong candidate, so the Republicans, they didn't have the strongest candidates, and they weren't able to really flip any seats. They only flipped Alabama, which was basically expected. I mean, it's a deep southern state, so Doug Jones was bound to lose. How the Democrats, things were looking pretty good for him coming into these elections. They had some pretty good candidates. Cal Cunningham was all right until that scandal. Jefferson Greenfield also did pretty well. MJ Heger wasn't the best, but still a pretty solid candidate. But John Cornyn much more solid than Ted Cruz was in 2018. We had Ben Ray Lujan. He was an all-right candidate in New Mexico. Definitely not the margin that he would have hoped for. South Carolina, Jamie Harrison, very good candidate there, but a complete disappointment. John Ossoff, also, very good candidate in Georgia, but still a complete disappointment. He did do better than Stacey Abrams in the governor election in 2018, though. So the Democrats are definitely making a lot of progress in Georgia, and Stacey Abrams, I think, definitely had a lot to do with that there. So props to her. But right now, balance of power basically 48-48 according to this. My mom has it at 50-48. With those two runoff elections in the state of Georgia, they will decide the balance of power in the Senate and whether Joe Biden can get whatever he wants passed, or he will have to work a lot more with the GOP to get things passed in the Senate. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. I'll be getting a lot, more content out for you guys about 2024 and just election in the future, along some other, a little bit different political content for you guys. So I hope you guys are excited for that. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see all of you guys in the next video.